A very good morning. You are watching Rajya Sabha television. I'm Smriti Rastogi with breakfast news. Let's begin the bulletin with the top headlines of this morning. 31st Asean Summit begins in Manila. Prime Minister Modi holds pull-aside meetings with several world leaders at gala dinner to mark ASEAN's 50th anniversary on Sunday. Bilateral meet with US President today. Government to inject more capital into state-owned banks to spur economic growth. Finance Minister says banks focusing on supporting MSMEs. Boat capsizes in Krishna River near Vijayawada in Andhra Pradesh. 17 dead, 6 missing. Vice President and Prime Minister express shock and anguish. $160 people killed and hundreds injured in 7.3 magnitude earthquake at the Iran-Iraq border. Quake hits mountainous border province. Toll likely to rise. And Leander Pace and Purav Rajya lift Knoxville Challenger men's doubles title at Tennessee in United States. Pankaj Advani clinches 17th world title at World Big Championship. The 31st ASEAN Summit is underway in Manila in the Philippines. ASEAN is also marking its 50th anniversary. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Manila to take part in the India-ASEAN Summit and the East Asia Summit. On Sunday, Prime Minister Modi attended the gala dinner organized for world leaders and briefly met US President Donald Trump, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang, and leaders of Russia, Japan and Malaysia. The Prime Minister will today hold bilateral meeting with the US President. Meanwhile, ahead of the summits, India and the US, along with Japan and Australia, also got together to revive an alliance called the Quadrilateral on the sidelines.
With the aim of deepening ties with ASEAN member states and the Indo-Pacific region, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in the Philippines capital Manila.
The ASEAN and the East Asia Summit will focus on the major issues of the day, including on terrorism financing, money laundering, as well as poverty alleviation, on nuclear proliferation, and all these important issues that face the region and the world.
On the sidelines of the summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is slated to hold bilateral talks with US President Donald Trump today. On Sunday night, Prime Minister Modi held a separate pull-aside meetings with Trump and Chinese Premier Li Keqiang. Prime Minister Modi and Trump had last met in June at the White House. Today, the two leaders are expected to deliberate on a number of key issues of mutual interest, including the security situation in the Indo-Pacific region. There have been concerns over China's growing military presence in the region, and Washington favors a greater role for India. The issue came up on Sunday as well during a meeting of officials from India, the US, Japan and Australia under the proposed quadrilateral coalition of the four countries. After the Quad talks, MEA said they agreed that a fair, open, prosperous and inclusive Indo-Pacific region serves the long-term interests of all countries in the region and of the world at large. The officials also exchanged views on addressing common challenges of terrorism and proliferation linkages impacting the region, as well as on enhancing connectivity. Apart from holding talks with the Trump, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will over the next 3 days hold bilaterals with various world leaders, including the other leaders of the Quadrilateral, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. Ahead of the summit, at the pre-dinner reception, Prime Minister Modi spoke to Trump, Abe and was also seen talking to Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev and Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak. All the leaders were dressed in Barong Tagalong, the national dress of the Philippines.
1, 2, 3.
Modi is the first Indian Prime Minister since Indira Gandhi to visit Manila, the capital of Philippines, in 36 years. The ASEAN Summit is being held from 13th to 14th of November, while East Asia Summit from 13th to 17th of November. While the ASEAN Summit is likely to focus more on trade and investment-related issues, leaders at the East Asia Summit are expected to delve deeper into issues relating to maritime security, terrorism, non-proliferation and migration. Prime Minister Modi will address the ASEAN India East Asia Summits on Tuesday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has said that the government will inject more capital into state-owned banks to strengthen the banking system and spur the economic growth. Addressing heads of the state-owned banks in Gurugram, Jaitley said that government will put in more capital from the budget through bonds and banks' equity expansion. He added that the banks will support the micro, small and medium enterprises because the sector has no access to international finance or the bond market.
If we look at the positive contribution of the PSBs, whether it is the agricultural sector and annually the credit in that sector, or it's the infrastructure creation, or it is support to the industry, or for that matter, it is the massive program of financial inclusion and an extension of that financial inclusion into other social schemes of the government, the PSBs themselves become the major players.
The government will launch its second and final phase of BharatNet project today. The project aims to provide high-speed broadband service in all Gram Panchayats by March 2019. A total of around 34,000 crore rupees will be spent towards the project. Under this phase, broadband connectivity will be provided in remaining 1.5 lakh Gram Panchayats in the country. Broadband services have been provided to more than 1 lakh Gram Panchayats as part of BharatNet Phase 1. The Department of Telecommunications will organize a national conference in New Delhi in which it will sign MOUs with states for the implementation of the second phase of BharatNet. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has emphasized on the need for peace and harmonious environment in the Society for Development. Addressing the Ahimsa Divas function organized by Ahimsa Vishwa Bharati on the 13th Foundation Day in Delhi, the Vice President said that solutions to disputes can be reached through dialogue. The Vice President also said non-violence is the only path to creating a healthy society. He said establishing non-violence, peace and goodwill in the society, nation and all over the world has been the purpose behind the establishment of Vishwa Bharati Institute. He also said that Indian culture was pluralistic and unity in diversity was its fundamental characteristic. Pinning hopes on the younger generation, he said that Ahimsa will play an important role in guiding them in the path of non-violence.
हिंसा के द्वारा कोई काम सफल नहीं होगा। दुनिया भर का इतिहास देखिए, अब कितना भी हिंसा करो, फिर अंत में मार्ग क्या है? जो हिंसा किया वो हिंसा से वो भी खत्म होता है। हम लोग अनुभव कर रहे हैं। इसलिए देश में भी जो हिंसा का मार्ग लेकर आगे बढ़ रहे, मेरा अनुरोध है उन लोगों से, भाई हिंसा से कुछ होने वाला नहीं है। लोकतंत्र में हिंसा का कोई स्थान नहीं है और बैलेट इज मोर पावरफुल देन बुलेट। अहिंसा के अभाव में समाज में शांति व सद्भावना नहीं हो सकते। हमारे देश के प्रधानी विकास पर बल देते हैं। विकास के लिए समाज में शांति व सद्भावनापूर्ण वातावरण का जरूरत होती है।
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu participated in the East-West Cultural Festival organized by ISKCON in the national capital on Sunday. He asserted that education is a key instrument in developing social infrastructure as it breaks the vicious cycle of poverty and underdevelopment. He also underlined that culture is the life-sustaining force of social infrastructure.
Delivering the keynote address at the East-West Cultural Festival organized by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said that India has served as a seat of knowledge for millenniums. He also noted that India is a land of Mahapurushas who dedicated their lives to serve humanity.
For millenniums, India has served as a seat of knowledge. Combined with its deep and rich culture, it has taught countless people the rituous path of life, India has also been the land of Mahapurushas who dedicate their lives to serve the humanity. Once upon a time, this country used to be called as Viswaguru.
The Vice President also said that the life of Swami Prabhupada, or the founder of ISKCON, was a story of dedication and courage. The Vice President noted that Swami Prabhupada established more than 100 temples, cultural centers and farm communities and wrote commentaries for over 75 books.
Globalization and technology, the world has become interconnected and multiculturalism is common. Much before all this began, Swamiji Prabhupada had already built a bridge between the East and the West, and that bridge was a cultural bridge.
He also called the Hare Krishna Food Life program as the world's largest food relief package. Under the Anna Amrita program, ISKCON members daily feed 12 lakh government school students free meals. Under the Tribal Care Initiative, the organization is providing education, health care in remote parts of Assam, Tripura, Jharkhand, Odisha and West Bengal. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And now all the election news and verdict 2017. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar participated in the BJP's door-to-door campaign in the Sabarmati area in Ahmedabad in Gujarat. He targeted Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi over his promise to cap GST rates at 18% if his party is voted to power. Javadekar said that Congress has been part of the GST Council meet but opposes the tax regime in public. He alleged that Congress intends to increase the tax burden on people. He also said that Rahul's visit to Surat was not a success, and this reflects that the people are not buying their arguments. Sunday was the last day of the BJP's door-to-door campaign ahead of the state elections next month. BJP President Amit Shah met with the Shakti Kendra in charges of Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad and Mehsana districts in Gandhinagar. During his address to the in charges, he said that BJP-led central government has not taken any decision since it came to power in the centre that would dent its stature. He said that the campaign against black money and corruption has paved the way for a new path on which the country is progressing. He also met Shakti Kendra in charges of Patan and Banaskantha and Disa. It is the last day of Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi's 3-day Gujarat campaign tour. Today he will meet Dalit leaders. He will also be visiting 4 villages in Patan and hold a discussion with nomadic tribe communities. He will also visit temples in Varna, Shankeshwar and Becharji. Rahul will also address public meeting in Varna. Later he will be in Mehsana, the constituency of Deputy Chief Minister Nitin Patel, where he will address the women's gathering. He will end the visit with small corner meetings in Visnagar, the place from where the Patidar reservation stir initiated. The Election Commission will today hold a pre-poll preparedness review meeting with Chief Electoral Officers of Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura in New Delhi. The Election Commission will also be briefed on the achievements of the targeted enrollment drives, aiming to reach to 18 lakh voters of 3.2 million populations. Among the other issues that will be discussed will be the launching of BLO-Net, a pilot project of the Election Commission aimed at enabling booth-level officers to map minute information about polling stations, nearest hospitals, roads and other landmarks. Assembly elections in the 3 states are due next year. The 10-day winter session of the Karnataka legislature will begin in Belagavi today. This session is likely to be penultimate session of the 14th Legislative Assembly, whose term draws to a close in May 2018. The session is expected to be story with the opposition BJP seeking to corner the Congress government on a host of issues, including the demand for Minister K.J. George's resignation over the CBI FIR against him. The state CID has cleared him of the charges. The ruling government is slated to table several bills. These include the Karnataka Appropriation Bill 2017, the Karnataka Prevention and Eradication of Inhuman Evil Practice and Black Magic Bill 2017, and the Karnataka extension of consequential seniority to government servants promoted on the basis of Reservation Bill 2017, among others. Ruling LDF in Kerala has asked the Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan to decide on the fate of Transport Minister Thomas Chandi, who is facing allegations of land encroachment. The decision was taken in a meeting attended by the leaders of the LDF coalition parties. Chandi is in a spot over alleged encroachment of a lake and violation of wetland rules for construction for his resort in the backwaters of Alapurza. The opposition, the Congress-led UDF and the BJP are demanding Chandi's resignation over the controversy. And with that, time for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us. Harappan sites are a treasure trove of sophisticated pottery. These creations show tremendous advances by the potter's wheel. Creations like the perforated jar, the copper axe, the chisel and knives astound even present-day archaeologists. Figurines depicting yoga poses, chess pieces display a complexity unsurpassed even by later-day civilizations, all of which make the Harappan civilization truly unique.
This is Kibutu in Arunachal Pradesh, East Point East on the map of India. Kibutu is dangerously close to the Chinese pressure point. We see first-hand and unseen areas of sand dunes and see how BSF is guarding this difficult territory along the Indo-Pak borderline. We are now slowly entering into the interior-most parts of the Sarkirik area. Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force justifies each word of this saying. Watch super exclusive episodes of National Security Series only on Rajya Sabha television.
More than 9,000 in-service doctors will resume their duties in Rajasthan today after a week. Government resident doctors went on mass leave in support of their demands, including better pay and separate cadre. The strike was called off after representatives were held talks with the state health minister and top officials of government on Sunday. As many as 2,000 primary health centres and 569 community health centres, along with several district hospitals, were hit by the strike. The Delhi government will file a review petition in the NGT today asking the tribunal to reconsider their decision of implementing the car odd-even scheme with exemptions. On Saturday, the Delhi government had called off its plan to implement the odd-even vehicle rationing scheme after NGT said there will be no exemption for women, two-wheelers and government servants. Earlier, the NGT reprimanded the Delhi government for acting late on rising pollution levels and said that odd-even scheme will automatically come into force if 2.5 PM level goes above 300 and 10 crosses the 500 mark in future. Meanwhile, Delhi continued to reel under smoggy conditions as a thick haze reduced visibility and air quality remained at hazardous level. Low visibility due to smog-affected train services at 8 Delhi-bound trains were cancelled and 69 trains were behind the scheduled time. The air we breathe in Delhi has deteriorated to unprecedented levels. There is an urgent need to identify the main sources of air pollution through specialized research and address the problem through innovative and targeted approaches. Take a look at this report.
It's November and air pollution has touched alarming levels in Delhi as thick grey smog hangs low across the region. Delhi faces this adversity around this time with problems compounding each year. While solutions like shutting down power plants, introducing traffic restrictions or vehicular movement, even the recent cracker sales ban during Diwali appear well intentioned. The fact is that India's battle against pollution needs more than short-term solutions.
पोल्यूशन को रिड्यूस करने के लिए हर आदमी अपनी कैपेसिटी पे क्या योगदान कर सकता है वो उस पर चर्चा हो तो ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा, जिसमें पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट यूज़ करे, कंस्ट्रक्शन ना करे, अगर ओपन एरियाज़ हैं तो उस पर ग्रास लगा के डस्ट पार्टिकल के एक्सपोजर को कम किया सकता है। हाई मल्टी स्टोरी बिल्डिंग या हाई राइज बिल्डिंग से पानी का छिड़काव भी किया जा सकता है।
The sources of air pollution are varied, like industry and brick kilns, transport vehicles, diesel generators and domestic fuel. However, crop burning by farmers and emissions from the transport system seem to be among the biggest distributors. Delhi needs 10,000 to 11,000 buses but is barely half that number. Similarly, crop burning has to be replaced with measures that are affordable and can benefit small farmers too.
We have proposed to the NCR governments or state governments also that manual sweeping and clearing should be stopped, mechanized sweeping should be done, the brick kilns needs to be stopped until they have got zigzag clearance, then construction site has to be sprayed with waters, traffic jam has to be stopped. So all these measures we have to take, jointly we have to take.
Increasing air pollution can take a toll on the urban economy by cutting short lifespan of people, thereby increasing healthcare costs to the government. According to a new study published in the reputed medical journal The Lancet, India has been ranked #1 in pollution-related deaths with 2.5 million deaths in 2015. China recorded the second highest number of such deaths at 1.8 million. India accounted for about 28% of an estimated 9 million pollution-linked deaths worldwide in 2015. Pollution will also negatively affect Delhi's ability to attract high-skilled expatriates, severely impacting inflow of investments and hit sectors like tourism and hospitality. As the urgency for putting in place effective solutions gathers momentum, it is critical to prioritize the options to tackle pollution. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some more news. The BJP in West Bengal has written a letter to Health Minister JP Nadda seeking his intervention to tackle the state's dengue situation. The party has termed the situation as epidemic. In a letter to Health Minister, BJP State President Dilip Ghosh alleged that hospitals of the state are inadequately equipped to treat patients and are sending them home without meaningful treatment. The BJP leader also accused the state government of instructing the hospitals not to write dengue in prescriptions. The party also alleged that there is a huge shortage of dengue tests in the state-run hospitals. The party added that number of deaths are much bigger than the state government's claim of 18.
कि जहां लोग मर रहे हैं डेंगू में, वहां के मुख्यमंत्री फिल्म स्टारों के साथ वर्ल्ड फिल्म फेस्टिवल मना रहे हैं, लंदन जा रही हैं, अपने प्रदेश की कोई चिंता नहीं, आने वाला समय है, जनता उनको जवाब देगी, ऐसा मेरा विश्वास है.
An overloaded boat carrying 38 people capsized in the Krishna River near Andhra Pradesh's Vijayawada on Sunday, resulting in the death of 19 tourists. National Disaster Response Force teams and Krishna district authorities are undertaking a massive search and rescue operation to trace the missing people. According to reports, 17 persons have been rescued by the authorities. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, Leader of the Opposition Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy and others have expressed grief over the tragedy. The government has appointed a committee to inquire into the incident. A case has been registered against 4 to 5 persons, out of which one has been arrested. The state government has announced an ex gratia payment of 5 lakh rupees each to the kin of the deceased. Taking to Twitter, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu expressed shock over the incident and offered his deep condolences to the families of the victims. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in a Twitter message, termed the tragedy anguishing. The Prime Minister also added that he is with the families of victims.
कल रात से ही काम कर रहे हैं और होपफुली हम बहुत जल्दी ही जो मिसिंग लोग हैं उनको बाहर निकालेंगे। मॉर्निंग में हम लोगों ने जॉइंटली कोशिश करके एक बॉडी रिकवर की।
On to some international news now. A powerful 7.3 magnitude earthquake hit the region along the border between Iran and Iraq early today morning, killing at least 160 people and injuring 300 in Iran. The death toll is likely to rise. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the quake was centered 31 kilometers outside the eastern city of Halabja. The quake sparked panic, with residents fleeing their homes for the streets. As per the Iranian state TV, Iraqi officials reported at least 6 people dead inside Iraq, along with more than 50 people injured in Suleimania province, about 150 kilometers in Kanakin city. There are, however, no reports available from Iraq's government. The earthquake has reportedly knocked out electricity in Iran's western cities of Mehran, and 35 rescue teams are providing assistance. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has emphasized on the need for maximum effort from officials. Iran sits on many major fault lines and is prone to near daily quakes. In a first television interview since his shock resignation as Prime Minister of Lebanon 8 days ago, Saad al-Hariri has said that he will return to Lebanon in days to formally submit his resignation. He is currently in Saudi Arabia. Hariri has blamed the Iran-backed Hezbollah movement for his resignation, citing concerns over his and his family's safety. He said Lebanon was at a risk of Arab economic sanctions due to interventions in Yemen and Bahrain by Hezbollah, which is part of the coalition government Hariri has led. Hariri also brushed aside rumors that he was under de facto house arrest in Saudi Arabia. On to sports news now. Ace Indian billiards player Pankaj Advani has clinched the 17th world title in the ongoing IBSF World Billiards Championship in Doha. Advani beat Mike Russell of England 6-2 to defend the 150 up format title. Now Advani will be eyeing a grand double at the lengthier format of the ongoing tournament today. Ace Indian tennis player Leander Pace and Purav Rajya have lifted the Knoxville Challenger men's doubles title at Tennessee in United States. Top-seeded Indians defeated American and Australian duo of James Serratani and John Patrick Smith 7-6, 7-6 in the final of the men's doubles. Pace and Rajya has also won their first ever title in August this year. That's all we have for you in this edition of Breakfast News. Keep watching Rajya Sabha television.